Hello. It is, oh my gosh, the 22nd of November, 2021. This roundtable you are about to hear was recorded almost 8 years ago. It was recorded on the 8th of December, 2013. I had just a few weeks earlier put up the last of 3 episodes where I interviewed a Bramo Impulse owner, and the conversation went so long I had to break it into 3 episodes. I thought fair is fair, as much of a Bramo fanboy as I can be. I really did. I do like the Zero bikes quite a bit. So I thought fair is fair. I'm going to get a whole bunch of Zero owners on, and I got a whole bunch of volunteers and very nice people, very different, really good, I don't know, sample size. There we go, sampling, really good sampling of different types of people out there. And they talk about the reasons why they chose a Zero over a Bramo. I was getting pretty sick. You can hear me talk about it a little bit in this roundtable. Shortly thereafter, I think I came down really, really sick. There was a flu that came around Clarksville, Tennessee at the time, and killed like 32 people. So it was like 3 or 4 strains of flu all hit at once or something insane like that. So I became very, very sick. I had just put a paywall up on my site. One man paid for the paywall. No one else would pay for the paywall, and that was just kind of the last thousandth cut, or hit to the gut that kind of killed my motivation at the time. There was a lot of things. The TTXGP had ended. Shortly thereafter, Bramo got sold to Polaris, and then Polaris was killed off within a year, leaving only Zero bikes. They make a lot of good points as to why they chose a Zero over a Bramo. The main reason was the belt drive, no transmission, and just straight up availability. Because the Zeros were available even though they were changing rapidly. The Zeros were available. And then what you can hear is all the hope of what the SR would bring with its slightly beefier engine. Or motor, sorry. Engine, what am I saying? Motor. The SR did not really live up to our hopes. Like you hear Miss Scheck, Susan Schleck, Pinky Racer, talk about how, it's going to be a proper sport bike. And it still wasn't a proper sport bike, but it was at least at this point a proper motorcycle with a whole lot of grunt. Yeah, it's just really interesting, and I can't believe it's been 8 years and I found this thing, and I'm putting it out here now. So this is episode 33 of ESBK Studios. A month, not even a month, almost a year, 2 weeks shy of a year after I recorded, is almost a year, 2 more weeks. Yeah, it'll be 2 more weeks. This is what did they say it was again, the 22nd? This was recorded on the 8th, so 2.5 more weeks, and it'll be 8 years since this was recorded. I hope you guys enjoy, and keep the rubber side down. And here is the last roundtable discussion of ESBK Studios.
Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Richard Dort, and this is ESBK Studios. It is the 8th of December, 2013, and this is a roundtable discussion, a roundtable forum type thing, of Zero owners. Today I have Dan Jones. He owns a 2013 Zero S. I have Ben Swing. He owns a 2012 Zero S, but has gotten to ride like everything under the sun. We have Lorraine McLeese, who owns a 2013 Zero S as well, and we have Susanna Schick, Pinky Racer, on the show, and she's just awesome. She owns a 2013 F2X she calls Shaq. Is that right?
Yep, that's Shaq.
All right,
Does
cool.
everybody have a name for their zero?
Yeah. His name is Shaq because he's big and black and he likes to have fun.
Do you have a name for your zero, Lorraine?
Yeah, she's Mango Zero.
Mango.
Just the orange makes me think of a super ripe mango. Reminds me of Hawaii. Reminds me of Philippines. So Mango Zero. She used to be when I had the 2012. It was Darth Zero because Darth Vader was on my keychain for the longest time, and it had all the angles and such. So there we go.
Dan, does your bike have a name?
No, not yet.
Not yet. All right, that's fine. Ben, what about you?
I think some people on the Ride the Future tour came up with one, but I don't remember it. So I haven't come up with a nickname.
Oh, you were on the Ride the Future. Okay, so you were on that tour with a bunch of electric vehicles and such.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Very cool. Hang on one second. I do apologize to everyone. I have been sick, and I wouldn't even be able to do this if it wasn't for the miracles of Dayquil. So I may cough from time to time. All right, well, let's start with Dan. Can you introduce yourself and kind of give us a brief background, where you're from, and let's see, your name, where you're from, and what prompted you to get a zero?
Hi, my name is Dan Jones. I live in Naples, Florida. As I already said, I'm a student at Florida Gulf Coast University. I'm studying engineering, so I really like technical things. And I used to own a few gas bikes, but when I think I first heard about Zero when the 2012 models came out, and I really wanted one, but they were still pretty expensive at the time compared to like the performance that they had. So I was kind of on the fence, but I ended up not getting one. And then when I saw the 2013 line, they were more performance for the price, so I had to get one. So I traded in my gas bike, had a Kawasaki, just a 250. I traded that in, got my Zero as soon as I could, and I've been loving it ever since.
Sweet. Ben, what's your story? Again, name, where you're from, and what brought you to Zero.
Yeah, my name is Ben Rich. I live near New York City, in Montclair, New Jersey. I teach physics, and I'm a semi-professional swing dancer. In 2007, I got a Vectrix, and that was my first motorcycle, and that had all of 40 miles of range on a good day. And then
we'll have to apologize. Ben cuts out from time to time. Ben, are you there?
I'm back. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
And then when Zero came out with their 2012 line with 100 miles of range, I really wanted to get in on that, so I got that, and I've been riding it ever since. And this past summer, I participated in the Ride the Future tour, going cross country, going from Charleston, South Carolina to LA, and then up to San Francisco. And I've had the chance to ride pretty much every 2013 Zero, as well as a Bramo Impulse and Bramo Inertia.
Very cool. Lorraine, where you're from, and what brought you to Zero?
Hi, my name is Lorraine McLeese. I live out here in the Seattle area. I used to ride, I think it started in 2009. I was riding a scooter. It was around the time of the big gas hike, and my husband and I, our commute is really short, and so we started riding scooters, and we got the dinky 50cc, and 2 months after, of that, and it was like, there's no way we're gonna keep riding this, and so we upgraded to a larger scooters, and we rode those for a couple of thousand miles, and we started looking at even bigger like bikes, but then you get anything bigger than like 200cc, you don't get the fuel economy. And so somewhere along the way, we heard about electric motorcycles. And so we just started asking our dealers, like, hey, have you heard about electric motorcycles? Like, what do you guys know about it? And they didn't know anything, really. And it's, I've heard of this Bramo bike, this Bramo company. And they started talking to us about that, but they didn't have any Bramo bikes. And by the time we got home, like at the end of the day, like we forgot the name, and so we just started looking up electric motorcycles, and Zero was the first one that came up. And so we started looking into that. And then when we found out there was a place out here that could actually do like demo rides, we just had to go. And when I test rode, it was they had an XU, they had an S, I forget which else. They had a third one, but the Zero S had a high seat. I'm pretty short. I think my inseam is like 31. And I'm not really comfortable riding a motorcycle, but I did get my endorsement. I rode like, what was it at the school? Like, some Kawasaki, like 250, really big, at least in my eyes. And it was just really heavy. But I passed the test, the safety course. And, so I knew that I could do it. And so when we did the test ride, I mean, I fell in love before I got out of the parking lot. I wanted to buy one. It was just so nice. Like it felt really good to ride it, and that it was just using electricity was just really, really awesome. And then I think it was just 2 weeks from there, like we decided to go ahead and get one, but the seat was too high on the Zero S, and the one that I test rode had the Corbin seat, so they switched it out for me, and then we went ahead and purchased the Zero S. I traded in my cute scooter, and so I used to tell my friends that I went from cute to cool in like, a day or two when I traded in my white Aprilia Scarabeo, really classic looking scooter, and I traded in for the black and red 2012 Zero S. And, I've liked riding electric ever since. And, I think I mentioned earlier, sitting on the 2013 at the International Motorcycle Show, I just had to trade in. I knew that was in my future, and it wasn't very long before I did. So I think I was on the 2012 for 9 months. I put like 4,100 miles on it, and traded in end of May this year, something like that. And I've already got like 3,500 miles on the 2013, and I ride it a lot farther. And it has also introduced this love of motorcycling that I never thought I'd ever have. Like riding wasn't something that I ever thought I'd do, like say 6 years ago. Never, ever. So it's kind of really interesting that we're thinking about getting more bikes now. So kind of coming at it from the other direction. Not just electrics, but, we're also looking at like a Honda, I think it was the NC 700. I forget.
Yeah, the new NC 700 with the semi-automatic transmission.
Yeah, so we're also thinking about doing that because I want to ride with my husband has a Suzuki Bergman. And so he was riding around the mountain over here, like Mount Rainier, like doing the Mountain Loop Highway. It was just so pretty. And so the open road is calling.
Very cool.
If anything, I'd get the Shademo for the 2013 because we found a route that we could use to do some long distance riding. So I'm really excited about that. And so 2014 Zero S with the extended range. Ooh.
Yeah.
I don't think we can afford it, but it's so tempting.
Well, just wait 2015. Yes.
I will wait. I will fight the temptation.
Susanna, you've been covering electric bikes longer than I have.
Yeah, I basically I was working for a startup in San Francisco that had import media. At the time, it was called Great Options Media, and I went to Laguna Seca for MotoGP like I always do. And while I was there, they had Zeros to test ride, and I was like, "Oh shit, I'm gonna test ride one of these electric bikes." And I went back to my job, and I was like, "Oh, can I write a story about this electric bike for Gas 2.0?" And they're like, "Of course, And so that was the first story I published, and so then I just started covering the EV industry for them, and I really, enjoyed it, and it was something that. It feels good to be able to kind of get people who read it, they choose to read Gastro because they're into electric cars, but to really, force them to read about electric bikes, and electric motorcycles and get them to think about two wheels instead of four. And, as I've been on motorcycles since I was 15, it's been my primary form of transportation, and it started with a Vespa and worked my way up to an R1 over a long period of time. And then, so being on the R1s since 2002, when I rode the Zero in 2009, I was like, this is fun and everything, but it's not nearly enough power, and living in Los Angeles, you need serious power, especially torque, to be able to get out of dicey situations. It's a really aggressive, dangerous place to ride. And I mean, I've ridden in New York, San Francisco, London, and LA is probably the most challenging of those cities. And, so I knew that when an electric bike came along that had enough power to feel safe, then I would be able to get one. And it didn't have to have R1 power, I mean, that's ridiculous. It's just, not necessary anywhere really. But it's fun, and it's something that, so each year I would test ride the zeros, the S's, and then I test ride the inertia, I test ride the impulse, and Bramo gave me a really good, experience with the impulse. I mean, they really were like, come get, we'll bring the bike to LA and, take it for a spin to Malibu. I had an 80-mile day on it. It was really fun, but it was too short for me. It's like the opposite of Lorraine's problem. I'm 6 feet tall. So, I just felt really uncomfortable on that bike, and it's the same height as the S. And so, when I saw the FX at the bike show last year, I was like, that's a good looking bike. But I still don't know for sure if it's going to be powerful enough, because it's not as powerful as the S. And so I waited till I had a chance to, borrow somebody's, and, cause Harlan didn't have any available, and the press fleet situation, don't get me started. Like, oh, get me started. I just had a conversation with them about that,
yeah. Let's not give bikes to people who actually write about them. Let's give them to everyone who doesn't. Yeah. Hope that they do. Yeah.
And then literally they're like, we didn't have any space for it until the fall, which is like when nobody's buying these bikes because there's none left to buy. So it's just kind of really unfortunate for Zero. But so in any case, I rode this customer's FX and I was just blown away by how much fun it was. And I forgot that I'd had a supermoto at one point, and I wanted a supermoto just because that's what all the cool kids have. And, it's like, oh, you get to really develop a technique that you don't really develop on a sport bike. But I'd forgotten about it because that supermoto was horribly uncomfortable above 40 miles an hour. Like, I called it the vibrating wedgie. And so it was really nice to have something that doesn't have that engine vibration, that's totally smooth, comfortable on the freeway, comfortable at low speeds. It's become like my favorite bike to ride around LA. And, my R1 just sits there and collects dust and waits for long trips to happen. And so it's exactly what I've always wanted, and, I don't know. So that's
very
all.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, those FXs were, I remember when I interviewed King and Kluge last year, he's like, those FXs are just fun. Wheelie monsters, hooligan bikes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Totally.
Very cool. Very cool. So we've Lorraine and Pinky have hit upon, one thing. Hang on a second. My apologies. That I think a lot of the listeners, well, anyone who's willing to pay for my podcast now, are really going to want to know about is why the Zero over the Bramo.
Mm-hmm.
And so, all's fair in love and war. That's what people want to know. My most hit upon article, short of Shalina Moreta's write up of Italy, which Shalina Moreta drives traffic, is any comparisons that I do between the Zero and the Bramo. Of course, anything I do is just all spec sheet, rumor mongering. So, Dan, why the Zero over the Impulse?
The first one that comes to mind is the belt drive. It's, from what I've heard on reviews on the Impulses, you hear the chain, and that there's something I like about my bike, how it's almost completely silent. I just love that. That's one of the bigger features of it. It really draws people's attention. They see a silent motorcycle going by, and they're like, what is going on? That motorcycle's not making any noise.
Nice. Hang on one second, Dan. Hey, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some are you opening a tool bench? Tool drawer?
No, let me mute.
All right, because we're drowning Dan out there. I apologize. Okay, go ahead, Dan.
So, belt drive, I liked how it was also one gear direct drive. Not that I didn't like the transmission in a normal gas bike, but I think it kind of was unnecessary, so I liked that. And those, honestly, those were probably the two main things. And the price, I think the Zeros were a little cheaper at the time than the Impulse.
Huh.
And they were more available.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Ben, why the S? Well, you got a 2012.
Well, since then, I've actually ridden an Impulse as well as the 2013s. But I mean, initially it was availability. Bramos didn't exist in reality. You know, they had a button that said pre-order. This was like February 2012.
Yeah, and they didn't deliver until December or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so Zeros had bikes on the ground, and Impulse was a great idea at the time. But
well, no, let's be fair. It was more than an idea. It was being made, but it was not available for sale.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm sorry. That's what I meant. Like, in terms of just being a regular customer, you know, I want to buy one and I'd like it to arrive. They just weren't available to buy.
Right.
Yeah, when I rode the Impulse, so I've been on Zeros, and I've mostly, and the Impulse does have that thwack of the chain, which so the guys that I've talked to say, you know, they kind of get used to that, but like Dan was saying, I really enjoy just twisting and go, and without any you know, I mean, it's not much drama, but you know, without any drama, you just get moving. And then personally, I really enjoy not having any gears to deal with, and just, you know, you can focus 100% on the ride. And the power is really similar. And now that the SR is available, I think that's actually more powerful.
Oh, it is more powerful. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, especially because they're claiming 3.3 seconds 0 to 60 times. So we finally got a 0 to 60 comparison between an Impulse and a 2013 S, and the Impulse gains, it's the 0 to 30 that the Impulse gains a gap on the 0, and then the 0 kind of catches up and doesn't catch up, but it maintains that gap all the way to 60. So, and then the Bramo has, you know, had the top end advantage because of the gearbox. You know, it was all, I mean, the actual Zero motor is more powerful than Bramo's motor, but the Bramo was running a smaller motor with a gearbox. So, you know, the SR is going to be a serious machine. I mean, what you're looking at though is the Impulse is. I was just talking to Kenyon yesterday. The S is not a sport bike, and the Impulse is pretty much a sport bike. I mean, I haven't ridden one, so I can't really say. I'm not exactly Mr. Motorcycle Magazine reviewer. So,
the way you sit on it, and as well as the way it looks, but like the way it feels, they do feel different. And you know, for some people, that's very important.
Yeah.
Most of the Bramo guys who ride Impulses, you know, they value that quite a bit. So, you know, that's important to them.
Well, and that's what I want to bring out is the differences, so that, you know, people can listen to this and go, help them make an informed decision. Let's listen to owners and why they feel this way or that. Lorraine, you had said there just weren't any Bramos available in your area, right?
No, I think if we had, I actually don't know because I've never actually ridden one, but we were looking for Bramo bikes. And we looked at the website, and you had to pre-order, and there wasn't any place nearby where we could test ride one. And that was a really important thing for us to be able to test ride in order to make a purchasing decision. And we really liked the just a single, not having to deal with a clutch at all was actually something that my husband and I both were really interested in. That's how we really liked riding the scooter. Like, you know, we both took the motorcycle course, and just having to deal with it, you know, being new riders this is something that we only started doing in the last 6 years, like riding on two wheels. So it wasn't something we were very comfortable, like, you know, dealing with the clutch. So it's kind of, you know, that was the big selling point as well. Just it's how much more concentration is it going to take away from actually riding, you know, like what what Ben was saying. Like, you get to concentrate on the actual ride itself and being safe and being alert and not having to worry about which gear you're on as you're approaching a light or as you're, going around a curve.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Cool. And when Susanna went over, it just didn't fit her.
Yeah. It was the fit, but also, I mean, if the FX hadn't existed and it was just between the S and the M Pulse, because I was seriously considering them. I mean, I'd pre-ordered the M Pulse, even though that doesn't require a commitment. And I was really considering them, and Harlan kept hinting that the 2013S would be amazing, and he couldn't tell me anything, but he was like, just wait and try it. And I'm like, okay, I should at least try it. And then also, I adore Harlan, and I think what he's doing for electric vehicles is absolutely, like, astounding. I mean, nobody is as committed to the electric bike industry as he is. And so I didn't want to have to buy a bike from a Harley dealership. And in Los Angeles, that's the Bramo dealership. It's the most, like, iconic, historic Harley dealership in Los Angeles. And I'm really, like, kind of, seriously biased against Harley riders. And, it kind of goes back to a time in my younger years when I worked across the street from a spot where they used to all hang out and, like, just rev their motors all day. And, it would just reverberate through our store. And ever since then, I'm like, anyone on Harleys, I can't stand them, and it's really hard for me to, like, work past that. And so to have to, like, go to a Harley dealership to get my bike serviced or, and then if something needed to be dealt with by a real electrical engineer and not a mechanic with some training, I couldn't take that to Harlan and be like, oh, I didn't buy this from you, but will you fix it? Like, there's no way.
Right.
He would fix it, but it's just, I would feel horrible for doing that. So I was like, part of it was loyalty to a dealership that I think is amazing and I wanted to support. And part of it's just, yeah, I mean, I mean, it's like, to me, the bikes are both pretty equal and have their pluses and minuses. Like, I don't feel the need for a transmission on an electric bike, but, it's kind of neat to have. It's just not like, a few $100 neat to have,
Yep.
Yeah.
I think another way of putting it as far as preference, if two of those bikes were available for free and it was offered to me on, like, hey, you can have a free Impulse or a free Zero S, I would still choose the Zero S just because of the simple operation. I don't know if that helps clarify it a little bit more.
No, I understand. And it even throws normal gas guys off because, I mean, there's that clunk that everyone knows about and now knows how to, like, live with and stuff. And what it is it's normal drivetrain slop. It's normal movement in a transmission. Every motorcycle has it, but because the electric motor doesn't spin or idle, doesn't spin while going nowhere, there's no preloading of that. And it's quiet as all sin, so when it hits, it's like, what's going on, And then, and what I just did an interview with a Bramo owner, and he compared the transmission to an AK-47 versus a more, fine instrument. So it's a bit bulletproof.
Yeah.
But you don't need the clutch to upshift. And then really, if you want to, you just put in third gear and ride around all day. So even then, gas guys just get thrown for a minute. I will say this: I've interviewed Shalina Moreto a lot, and if you were to tell her that you're taking her transmission away, no, I don't want to be that person.
They're both beautiful bikes, though. I gotta say, they're both really good to look at.
Well, oh yeah, they're both cool. I've said they do different. They're different bikes, and there's room for both in the market. But yeah, we want to hear we want to be fair to everyone, but we want to hear everyone's opinion as to why in this group they chose Zero. So I really appreciate that. It's a lot of really good feedback. All right, so let's go to reliability. If you go to the Electric Motorcycle Forum, you can read some horror stories. But considering the volume, that Zero puts out, or apparently puts out, because no one really knows any numbers. I'm not sure it's really that many cases. Dan, what's been your experience?
Well, if you don't count like the 2 first months of my ownership, it's been great, but I did have quite a few problems. And if you guys have read the forum, you might have read my thread. I was pretty annoyed when I first got the Zero because mine broke after one day. It was pretty sad. The dealership, they didn't give me a loaner bike right away, so I was just really missing my Zero. And it took them a week to get the parts in the mail, and then a few more days, I think, maybe to install it. I think they thought it was the main bike board was the problem. Like, the bike didn't turn on at all. It was just dead. And so they said they fixed it. They gave it back to me, and then a week later, it breaks down again. It seemed like the same problem. The bike wouldn't turn on or anything. That time, they ended up giving me a loaner bike, and I had the loaner bike for 2 or 3 weeks, maybe, while they were working on getting my bike either fixed or either getting me a new one. And halfway through that, they ended up just giving up on my bike because I don't think the mechanics there really had the technical know-how on what was going on or how to diagnose it. And it was probably getting annoying because Zero had to pretty much talk them through step by step how to diagnose certain problems. And so I ended up getting a completely new bike after that, just because they didn't want to keep me waiting anymore, so that was nice. So it ended up being like, from the time I actually bought the first bike to the time I got the second bike that was working properly was kind of a long time, which was annoying. After I got a second bike, it was pretty much problem-free. I only had one problem, which was my contactor welded itself shut so the bike wouldn't turn off properly. You would turn it off when the key, it looked like the whole bike was shut down, but apparently the high voltage system was still going to the controller. And so it was kind of cool how the bike knew that it had the problem, because when you turn it on, it wouldn't let you operate the bike. It would just keep flashing the error code. And I looked up on their website. Their website at the time was incorrect for the error code. I think it was like 4 dashes and then 1 dash. I forgot what the actual one was, but according to their user manual, it said that was a temperature sensor error, but it wasn't. It was the main contactor that was the problem. That one wasn't too bad at all because they flew down a representative from Zero to my dealership, and they had me bring in the bike, and he swapped out the part that day, and he also updated the software on the main bike board, and that was supposed to fix the problem, which it has. I haven't had a problem since. So that one was pretty painless. It was just like a one-day thing to fix the bike, so that wasn't too bad. And after that, I've had really good luck with my bike, so haven't had really any major issues. There is one thing, I don't know if your guys' bikes do this, but my charger, when it's done charging, it'll make clicking noises. Does anyone else have that?
Yeah. Mine clicks as soon as I plug it in. It does a little like rhythmic clicking.
When mine's done charging, like when it's complete, it'll click, like it'll go click, 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 and it'll never stop clicking until you unplug it or turn the bike on.
That sounds like a relay inside the charger.
That's probably what it is. I've contacted Zero a few times about it, and they said, don't worry about it. They don't think it's a problem. So hopefully it will never be a problem. It's kind of a little annoying how other people's bikes don't do it, but mine does, and then they're telling me that I should just not worry about it, because I would like to have peace of mind and just know that everything's working okay. I mean, it runs fine and the charge is fine, but that clicking won't eventually.
Yeah, that just sounds like a relay swapping over. It sounds like a relay that's taking power off, because once you've completed the charge in your pack, then it goes into just a kind of like maintaining mode, and it just kind of starts balancing and stuff. So you're going to have relays switching over, reducing or increasing power depending. But that's what it sounds like to me. I mean, I used to work on military aircraft, so if I heard clicking, it was just a relay. Yeah, as long as the relay doesn't wear out.
Other than that, I think my bike has the infamous glitch where it'll occasionally you'll lose throttle response. I have it's done it 8 times since I've owned this particular bike, and it's not that big of a deal. You just have to turn the bike off, turn it back on, and it'll usually clear the air. Chris from Zero told me that it's a problem with the software on the motor controller, and that eventually an update will be available that should fix the problem. I did notice, though, I haven't had it in a while, and I'm thinking maybe it has something to do with Florida's humidity during the summer, because ever since it stopped raining every day, it seemed that I didn't have the problem for a long time, so maybe it has something to do with the moisture in the air. I think I even read something on the forum about they thought the problem was condensation inside the motor's encoder, and that could have maybe been causing the problem. I don't know.
No, I laugh because I have a lot more contacts at Bram when I do Zero. And I laugh because the racers, their favorite joke at the beginning of the season is it was always the encoder. Whatever was wrong with the bike, it was the encoder, because they're all like, petrol heads, and they know nothing about electrical stuff, and so that just struck me as funny. Sorry. I apologize. Ben, reliability issues?
Well, very, very early on, there was a couple, but since then it's been golden. I think I think I was the first person to. They told me I broke one of their motors, so that they just shipped a new one out. But that was like a fluke kind of thing. I had the glitch. They fixed it pretty quickly, and then other than that, it's really been free sailing. Riding cross country was piece of cake. The trip was 4,600 miles in a summer, and we went straight through places like Death Valley. For the first 2 weeks, it rained every single day. So we started in the southeast, and it was raining every day, so there was plenty of water. We went through the southwest, and it was hot and dry, and then we went up the west coast on the PCH, which was beautiful, but it got kind of cold when we got to San Francisco. So we hit a lot of different temperatures, but the bike was perfect. I think one time I shook a connection loose, but you push it back in and it works. So that was it. So it's been smooth sailing.
Sorry. Pushing connectors in brings back Navy memories. Some sketchy things happen sometimes. All right, cool. Well, that's, we had a bit of a saying when I was working on aircraft, is the more they fly, the more reliable they become. So if you're riding it every day, it just, because the things are designed to be flown regularly. And a motorcycle is similar. If you want a motorcycle to be reliable and not be ridden much, you have to build it that way. And I think sometimes, if you drive a car all day, or you ride a motorcycle all day, sometimes they just work better, because that's kind of where they were designed around. But it's just, Susanna, you had a recall, but otherwise, have you had any issues?
No, just the sadness and the trauma of not having my new love for 2 months. It was unbearable. But, I was really lucky because, I had to do that school with Shalina Moreta. She does a dirt track school, and I really wanted to do it on my Zero, because it's designed for riding in the dirt. And I was going to give up and just use one of their XR 100s, and Harlan was like, no, we're going to get you batteries. Like, I'll make sure this happens. And he called Gabe at Zero, and Gabe's like, yeah, I've got some demo batteries, researched or whatever batteries that she can borrow, but she has to come here to get them. So I went through all this drama and using Zimride to basically as courier service to get the batteries so that I could get them to Sacramento. I mean, it was crazy. Like, I think I wrote about it on my personal blog. I don't know, but it was just so much effort, and it was totally worth it. And it was so cool to have my FX when I needed it. And, they took care of us as far as you get some free stuff. And I'm like, I don't need a mesh jacket. I don't need mesh gloves. But I do need these things. And they're like, okay, yeah, here, so that was good. And then, excuse me, people bugging me on Facebook. So other than that, it's been fine. I mean, there was a weird thing. I went out on the Eastside Moto Babes ride, a few weeks ago, and just and Harlan was saying this can't be anything to do with it, but I was touching my friend's vintage Beamer, the turn signal, and I was like, oh, a cute little turn signal on the bar, and then my bike wouldn't start. I was like, what? Like the light turned green, and I was stuck there, and I was just like, okay, I think Shaq didn't like that moment of intimacy with the vintage gas bike, So I, just turned it off a couple times, and it started up again after that. But other than that, everything's been fine. And I didn't know that I could just email a service notice through the app. I wasn't really, aware of that. So then Harlan was like, yeah, next time you can just email that or let me know and I can look it up and see what it says, So if something happens, I can do that.
Awesome.
Very cool. Very cool. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I've been putting my microphone on mute as I cough. So, and I've been hitting it so many times I wasn't sure where I was. I apologize. Very cool. Maintenance. What do you guys, Dan, what have you had to do for maintenance?
0. No, I'm just kidding. I've had to replace my back tire because I'm over 10,000 miles now, and my back tire was shot. I ended up replacing that, and I retensioned the belt, I think, 2 times, maybe 3 times since I got it. And other than those 2 things, it's been completely maintenance-free.
Ben?
Yeah, I replaced the back tire because I went over 10,000 miles, and once I got, I put a size 6 controller on my 2012, so it rides almost the same as a 2013 0S. And when I discovered I could do burnouts, then I had a little bit of fun. So that tire was very flat on the where it's supposed to be rounded, but that was really it. The only things that I've done to my bike is I've actually attached a couple of external chargers to it, but that doesn't really fall into maintenance. I guess that's more upgrades.
Mods. Yeah. Lorraine?
Yeah. Oh, so just I didn't get to talk about maintenance, but it's kind of funny. Susanna talking about Shags being a little jealous. So that's kind of what happened with my 2012. Is when I started entertaining the idea of trading in. That was the week that I actually had to get it serviced. That was the only time I've ever had anything happen to it, and that's like.
Hi, Ben.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Lorraine.
And so I had sat on the 2013, and my husband and I started talking about it. There was a lot of rain that week, and I came home and I was covered in mud. For some reason, I had so much grit on me, so I hosed me down, including my helmet, the garden hose, like my faceplate clothes. I hosed my face down. I hosed my shirt, my jacket, my pants, and I turned around and I hosed down my 2012. And I must have squirted right into into wherever the battery management system was, because that morning she just didn't want to have anything to do with me, like Darth Zero, which is it's catatonic. Just no, I'm not talking to you. I'm not gonna go nowhere. So we actually let it sit inside the house to warm it up. It had a fan blowing. Nothing. And so the dealership actually came and put her on a flatbed. I was really sad. I was to see her go, and so they took a look at it, and it was water intrusion, so they had to get a new board. But they had quit making the 2012, so they put in the 2013 brain in there instead. But at that same time, there was a new 2013 in the shop, and it was the color that I was talking about wanting to get. And so before I knew it, we were trading it by then. So that's the only problem I've had with the 2012 was just and that was around after 4,000 miles, and it was just a water intrusion, and it was just something really dumb. I squirted it with the garden hose, and it was on a really hard spray, and I just squirted the whole thing. And then for the 2013, the only thing that's happened so far were the ball bearings on my rear wheel. Apparently was what's making this loud clunking noises, and so that was replaced. I was worried about the key sprocket. There was a recall, but they did that before I was having any problems. And then after that was done, I started to hear the loud clicking noises, and it was really getting me worried, like reading up on it. And I think I posted a bit on the forums about it, but it turned out to be the faulty ball bearings, and that they would go out before I rode another 2,000 miles, which is kind of crazy. So the dealership was actually doing something about that and contacted the supplier for the ball bearings. I don't know, like I don't know like exactly what they're doing, but so they fixed it. And they fixed it right away. So that was really cool. I wasn't, a day without my 2013, really, except for the, like when they did the recall service, I was out for like a day. So it's been problem free so far.
All right. I apologize for leaving you out. Have you had to have any? I really do. For skipping your turn there. What have you had to do in maintenance for either bike, or have you not put enough miles on them?
No, I don't think so. Like 4,000 miles, I don't think that's enough to really like get anything, I don't know, to go out of whack. But the dealership said that they will cover my, brake pads, possibly.
Yep.
I think something got done with that. I'm really stretching, trying to think of things. But there hasn't been anything that I needed to do, I said the only thing I've ever done to the bike is actually get the wheels powder coated. So I have the orange wheels. So if you ever see a picture of a 2013 with orange wheels, that's mine. So that's pretty much it. No maintenance, just cosmetic.
Ah, cool. Sorry, my mute button wasn't working. No, thank you for that. Susanna, maintenance?
Yeah, it's only got 3,400 miles on it. I mean, I work 2 blocks from home, so I don't really get to ride it except to go out at night. And that's what I always tell people is you don't have to get oil changes, you don't have to get valve adjustments, and it's just so nice to have something that's maintenance free. And then even when I'm really broke, I don't have to buy gas, I can go all over the place. And so I haven't had to do any maintenance. I know that I think Harlan may have adjusted the belt once. And my tires are still not anywhere near needing to be replaced. Even though I've tried really hard to use both sides all the way to the edge. Shalina's the angle of that tire, you just can't, there's always going to be chicken strokes on it, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, I haven't needed new tires yet.
You've got a supermoto set up on yours too, right?
Yeah, I put the S wheels on there for everyday riding. So those are the tires I'm talking about that I haven't really been able to use them all the way to the edge. And so, it'd be interesting to see what a faster, more accomplished rider can do on that bike on a racetrack. Because on my R1, I can totally use it all the way to each side. But on this bike, I rode it around Laguna Seca, and I just felt like I just couldn't get that much lean angle out of it. I don't know. But I mean, I don't lean that much anyway, so I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, it's been maintenance free. I've had it since April,
Cool. I wonder if it's got something just to do with the wheel size, how it's working with the geometry of the bike.
It's possible, yeah. But I actually have to go. So
okay.
Is there last minute thing that you want to ask me, or is there
do you have anything you want to share? You think it's important?
I'm excited about the SR, and I'm really hoping that they'll be able to get me on that bike on a racetrack to talk about what it feels like on a racetrack, because I have racing experience. I used to race the Aprilia 250, and then I've ridden my R1 at a bunch of racetracks, and it would be really nice to finally take an electric bike that's a proper sport bike out on a track and really see what that does. So hopefully we'll be able to read about that on Gas 2.0 in the spring when people are thinking about buying motorcycles instead of in the fall. And, so that would be really exciting. And, but yeah, I love my FX. I'm actually going to jump on it right now. I modified it so I could put a GV top case on it because I buy all my groceries. I don't, there's no reason to drive a car in Los Angeles, ever. Even in the rain. I literally rode across town in the rain recently, and I just had to remember to plug put the little rubber plug in the electrical connector thing, like, oh yeah, you might want to plug that up because it's raining out now, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, it was just, you know, another ride. It was stressful, but it was like, okay, the bike's totally okay with that, you know. And yeah, so cool. But thanks so much.
No problem. Thanks for joining us.
Alrighty, I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
All right. Well, thank you, Susan, for joining us. Let's see. So we've gone over any reliability issues. We've gone over maintenance. Has there been any issues? Have you noticed anything with your electric bill? That's going to be a common question, I assume.
Where I live, actually, I live in an apartment building, and I'm renting a garage, and the electricity from that garage outlet isn't on my electric bill, so I don't have to pay it. I'm actually zero. My mileage is 0 cents per mile. Luckily, no one's really noticed yet. it has an outlet in the garage. It's allowed to use electricity in there. So.
Oh, hang on one second. Lorraine?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm moving my iPad around. Sorry. Oh, is it my turn?
No, it was making Dan's comments break up.
All right, sorry.
No, hang on one second. All right, go ahead, Dan.
Yep, so I really don't ever have to pay for electricity for my bike, so that's
nice.
always nice.
Well, I mean, that says something if no one's noticed the electric bill on the garage and kind of knocked on your door and going, dude, what, you running a hairdryer all day long, you know? Hey, Ben, what about you?
Yeah, I'm in a similar situation, 'cause I rent a room in a house and utilities are included. So the 12,500 miles that I've ridden the motorcycle have all been completely free, which is nice. When we went across country on the tour, we rented hotel rooms and I charged my motorcycle either on an outlet in the hotel or in the room. And so charging was completely free, although I estimated that it would have cost about $40 or $45 to charge to go all the way across country. But yeah, no, if I actually had to pay for electricity, I think it would add about $9 a month, assuming I traveled 1,000 miles each month, which I usually go a little under that, I think.
Cool.
Anyway, so the landlord and I talked about that. I'm sorry. What I meant to say is the landlord and I talked about that because he's like, well, I wouldn't pay for your gasoline because that's the mentality that a lot of people have. And so I actually measure the electricity usage. And so I know exactly how much electricity is used for my motorcycle versus for the rest of the house. And I have all these graphs that show you, like, I can tell you when my TV is turned on, when the heat, the space heater is turned on, all that stuff. So I showed him how little electricity it uses because electric motors are 90% efficient, and he did not see the need to add anything to my rent or anything like that, just because of motorcycle charging. And I also have an electric car as well. I have a Mitsubishi iMeave, and so I charge both of those, and he hasn't felt like it's been enough to significantly change what's going on. I think the main reason is because even with both my vehicles charging, our electricity use, there are 4 people living in my living arrangement, and with 4 of us, we use less electricity than the 2 people who are downstairs, even though I've got 2 electric vehicles hooked up to our electric system.
Wow.
But that's because I've changed out all the lights and we have efficient TV and efficient refrigerator, all that stuff.
Very cool. That's nice that your landlord was open enough to look at the data.
Yeah. Well, I made sure to collect some before we had that conversation, but it's basically, most American homes are super wasteful, and people are just throwing money away on their electric bill. And if you pay a little bit of attention, you can save a solid amount of electricity and therefore money just by making some upgrades. And it turned out that the upgrades that I had made voluntarily to my apartment ended up saving more money than the electricity used by my vehicles.
Oh, wow.
So I think that's an important message for people to understand is that, you know, right now, like, if you're listening to this, you're probably wasting a lot of electricity. So,
Yeah, I'm looking around the house right now, and I'm thinking, yes, I probably am in this room. Right.
Yeah.
I upgraded the lights in the room that I rent to CFLs.
Oh, good.
They had regular incandescent. I went, the heck with this. They kept burning out too, so I was like, no, that's really awesome, man. That's a really good point. And you're fortunate that your landlord was someone that could take data and still process it.
Yeah, he's reasonable, and that you don't always find reasonable landlords. So,
Lorraine, electric bill issues at all?
Yeah, so we're kind of looking at it on like a year-long thing. So the year that we had the 2012, we didn't notice an uptick in our like monthly, like just looking at the whole, like the monthly usage. We actually may have been using less, but we also changed out like every bulb that went out, every halogen that went out, we replaced with LED bulbs. We got like a new dishwasher. We had like a couple of new things like put in the house, you know, things that we replaced. And so maybe we also got a little bit more energy efficient. We could still do more, certainly, but I haven't noticed like an increase, at least with the 2012. We're still kind of holding out a little bit on the 2013. And it kind of broke down to about 0.18 cents a mile is what it was turning out to be, like for my 2012 at the time, just averaging out like the monthly bill and looking at the total kilowatt hour usage and just breaking that down that way. But yeah, like we could be a little bit more diligent about like when I plug it in and how much juice it's taken and what time so we can get the actual rate. But there hasn't really been like a significant increase, not with the zero anyway.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we've I've covered everything I think we can cover. My voice has about had it. Sorry. And it's been about an hour. So I really want to thank everyone, Dan, Lorraine, Ben. I really appreciate your time.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Sure. Thank you.
No worries. I appreciate you guys. The website, if you don't know, is esbk.co. I'm a little more racing orientated, but no, I really appreciate your time, and hopefully the word gets spread about this podcast, and some people can get some good information. Yeah, that's it for tonight. I'm not ending this very well. I'm not ending it very well, but I'm not particularly well at the moment either. So, no, again, thanks a lot, guys, and you have a good night.
Oh, you too.
Thank you.
Better.
All right, will do. Thanks, guys. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.